Hello, Internet peeps, and welcome to another edition of Escape from Side Quest. I am Joe Dubs,
I'm Andy.
and we are here for episode 9. I actually did check that before I went on the show. If you listened to last episode, I never said what episode number it was because I'm a professional podcaster.
Yeah, it'll say it in the name of the download or the webpage, I hope.
Mm-hmm. You know, people, when they load up their podcast walkie-talkie or walkie-talkie.
Oh, yeah, if they're doing RSS or what, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, what the hell you been playing, Andy?
Well, it is the 2-year anniversary of the PlayStation VR. So Sony sent $10 PlayStation codes to everyone who had bought a VR. So I had $10 to spend on the PlayStation Network. And in addition to that, a bunch of VR games are on sale. So I got two Super Hypercube and Thumper, and they were both a ton of fun and very strange and very interesting in VR.
Yeah, I actually saw that you streamed, and I didn't get to catch it.
Yeah, I streamed those two games. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of Thumper? Because Thumper is like a Guitar Hero kind of thing.
Sort I mean, it's a rhythm game, but it's not. They call it a rhythm violence game. But you don't need VR to play it. It just makes it a little cooler.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Super Hypercube, which is VR only. But Thumper's a ton of fun. It's on most consoles now. It's out on Switch and PS4, I know. And like I said, you can use VR or not. But it's very difficult to explain. It's like you're a silver beetle going along a track, and you have to perform stuff in time to the music. Like you'll see like bars you have to break through or jump over, turns you got to make, and yeah, it's bonkers. It like I said, it's impossible to explain. It's better to watch it. Watch a couple trailers, and even after that, you'll be like, I don't know if I get it, but it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And I also see more Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons. What is that? The handheld?
Yeah, that's they made Oracle Seasons and Oracle of Ages. They were made by Capcom for Nintendo. It was a little bit after Ocarina of Time came out. They came out with Game Boy Color. And it's like what you do in one game affects the other. I've been streaming it off and on. I've also been, I actually take the game out of the Game Boy player and put it in my old Game Boy Color that I had when I was in school, and I've been keeping it in my coat pocket, playing it on my lunch break at work and stuff.
Oh man, Game Boy. I remember having a Game Boy in elementary all the way to like middle school, and I remember when Game Boy Color first came out and how cool that was. I wanted the clear Game Boy Color.
That's the one I have.
Yeah, I fucking love that. Man.
I sold my Game Boy Pocket to get it, and like I know it's a better console, but part of me is nostalgic for that blue Game Boy Pocket. I wish I still had it a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
the Game Boy Color is better.
Do you still have the Game Boy Brick?
Like, I never had it when I was a kid. I bought one off a friend that doesn't really work that well. Like he didn't charge me very much for it, and I've really been wanting to like look at it and fix it up and maybe paint it. But when I was a kid, I never had the original Game Boy. Game Boy Pocket was my first. I had a Game Gear. That was my first handheld. The Sega Game Gear.
The Game Gear. My God, that. You know what's funny? Like you look at the Game Gear and then you look at the Nintendo Switch, and it brings back memories.
Yeah, they're. I mean, they're not dissimilarly long. The other dimensions aren't quite the same. Honestly, the Game Gear is. It's so. I don't know. It's weird. It's not too much wider than. Actually, I think it's less wide than Switch, but something about it. It's clunky and weird.
And it takes a lot of batteries.
What's that?
I said it takes a lot of batteries.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it goes through them really quick too. It takes like 6, I think, and it'll eat through them in 2 to 3 hours. It's ridiculous.
The only game I played on Game Gear was the Sonic game. That's it.
There's a few Sonic games on it. They made Sonic 1 and 2 and 3D Blast and Sonic Labyrinth, Sonic Triple Trouble. I know I'm forgetting one. Sonic Drift, which was a kart racer.
They should just call it the Sonic Game Gear.
I mean, Sonic was the main boy back then. I mean, they could call any Nintendo system the Mario system. It's funny. I was at a Halloween party yesterday, and we went to play Super Mario Party, and the guy put it in his Switch, and just the first four games that you could see on the screen were Super Mario Party, Mario Tennis, Mario Kart, and Mario Odyssey. And I was like, "Do you play anything that isn't a Mario game?" And he was like, "Why would I?" I was like, "Good point, I guess."
um, since you're more on the topic, I really want to get Starlink. I heard it's the best Star Fox game that is not a Star Fox game.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but really good stuff about it too, which upsets me because I was kind of hoping it would be like and I wouldn't have to look at it. I was hoping it would be like Skylanders was always supposedly a pretty good game, but I never got into it because it just didn't feel like something I cared about.
Mm-hmm.
But flying a spaceship is something I do care about, and so is Star Fox. So yeah, I kind of it sucks though because it's not like you can just buy a game. You got to buy a game and all these toys and garbage. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can do it. Not with Red Dead coming out what Friday, Thursday.
Oh yeah, man, dude. I think that game is gonna take up a lot of my time. I think this is the first game that I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna buy this game and then not buy anything and just play that and all the side quests and hopefully the multiplayer beta when it comes out. The game is gonna be insane.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to Red Dead and then Fallout. The beta will start the 30th, which I should be in because I got the collector's edition because I'm stupid. And I've got Dark Souls on the Switch that came in the mail on Friday, sitting on my bar with the amiibo, still in the plastic because I hadn't had time to play it. Like I said, I went to the party yesterday, and today I've been cleaning and jerking off and whatever. I mean, not literally jerking off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean it as a euphemism for doing nonsense.
Yeah.
I watched YouTube for an hour and talked to the dog, and you know.
Yeah. Since we're on the Halloween party, I mean, I have you on Facebook, so I saw your costume. Were you a Sith, Thor the Sith or something?
No, the lightsaber is something. The guy who's hosting the party, he just had a lightsaber in his basement, so I was playing around with it. But no, I was Thanos for Halloween.
That would have been great if you were like some Sith Lord from the Marvel universe.
No, it sucked because I had purple body paint for it, but man, this stuff is very trashy. I couldn't get it to work very well. I think it was for like the paint I bought was supposed to be for small details, and I was trying to paint like both my arms and my full head with it, so it just wasn't really working out. So I just went with I had the costume, and then I had a $100 Infinity Gauntlet, which is the best toy I bought since I was a child. The thing's so much fun.
Can you take the stones out of it?
No, the stones don't come out, but they do light up, and it like makes sounds from the movie. When you move the fingers, it makes like a metallic sound. And the glove is like huge, and you fit your hand into it. And do you remember those like Terminator robot hand toys where you put your fingers in the little loops and it makes the fingers move?
Yeah.
It's like that. Like the fingers each move, even though they're all like an inch thick. The thing's super cool.
That's fucking awesome. Yeah, I saw the lightsaber picture. I'm like, what is going on here? This is interesting.
Now, if you see on Facebook later, there's a bunch of new pictures of just me in the costume.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. No. The only thing Halloween party down here is Universal's Halloween Horror Night. Is where you just kind of like Six Flags, where they have their Halloween gig, where you just you walk around. It's $60. I might do it. I mean, it's Universal, so maybe. I don't know.
Do it.
Me on the other hand, I like to play the mainstream shit, and it could be a little boring, but anyway. WWE 2K19. I finished the story mode. Really happy with it, by the way. I thought it had good pacing. There was a lot of like storylines where if you watched wrestling back in the day, you were like, oh, this is gonna happen because Seth Rollins turned on the Shield, and this person's gonna be turning on you, and it does stuff.
Like starts further back in time and then comes into the future from there or something.
No, so they have their own storyline here, with you as the main character coming from the indies all the way up, and certain spots are like generic situations which already happened in WWE past. They're just melding it into the storyline pretty much. So like they bring back Evolution to face the new Bullet Club, which is you, AJ Styles, and Finn Balor.
That's pretty fucking cool.
Mm-hmm. And then like people turn on you, and you're like, "Oh man, I knew that was happening because Seth Rollins turned on you, his friends and stuff. So this person's gonna turn on you." It's so, some of it you could see, and other you're just like, "Wow, this just fucking happened. It's awesome." So I recommend it. I mean, I've had a lot of fun so far with WWE 2K19. There's tower modes, kind of like if you ever played Mortal Kombat, you're doing like all the competition until you face the boss at the end. And
Is there a separate story if you do a female protagonist?
I don't even know if you. I think I didn't even know if there was an option for a female. That's a good question.
I don't know if there is. I mean, if it was, there would be really cool if they actually did like a whole other story.
Yeah, I don't know. I should check that out actually. And then also the other big game that came out, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 came out.
Call of what? I've never heard of that.
It's pretty much the battle royale kind of thing, Blackout, and I already talked about it, and I think it's really good. And I haven't tried the other stuff yet, so can't go into deep detail. But yeah, that's what we've been playing. I think we need to introduce the new segment.
Oh, you want to put it here up top?
Yeah.
That'll be good for the future because when we're accomplishing tasks, now will be when you want to talk about it. But whatever. You mentioned this on episode 8, but now you fleshed it out, and now we get to talk about it.
Yeah, so this segment is called Wheel of Quest. And I have a wheel here. You won't see it because it's a podcast, but you will hear it, by the way. You will hear it spin. It has a lot, and I could be adding more in the future. But there's like beat an RPG, beat a platformer. I'm not gonna say them all. We'll just tell just a few. Beat a pre-NES game. I put research it, and in this wheel spin, it's gonna be a horror game. Any horror game you want, you could research it. It's a little paragraph you can come up with to say on the next show. Get Host Showdown, which is like a multiplayer between me and Andy, and we fight it out. And then beat any game in your Steam backlog. Just the usual stuff. So what's going to happen is we're both going to get a spin, which that means we're both going to get a quest. Doesn't mean that next episode we're going to have it, but it would be great to have content for next week. Or
if one of them is like beat an RPG, I don't know, 2 weeks, gonna cut it.
Mm-hmm. But we're gonna every week we're gonna spin, and we're gonna cap it to 5 quests. So if you haven't beat any quest, you won't get a spin.
So do we spin just once a week or twice a week because this is bi-weekly? Or twice a show because it's a bi-weekly podcast.
Well, we'll both get a spin for this episode, and then we'll both get a spin for next episode. So it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna add up. If you keep on accomplishing a quest, then you keep on spinning, pretty much.
Fair enough.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with you, Andy. So this is gonna be your spin. So I'm gonna spin it right now, and it's spinning, going around and around, and it landed on beat any game in your Steam backlog.
Well, at least I have a lot to choose from.
Mm-hmm. So that is your first quest of Escape from Side Quest. All right, now my turn. Spin, going around and around and around. Beat a 5th generation game.
Ooh.
What was 5th generation again?
Let's 5th generation will be an easy one. But I put all that stuff in there just because it's easier to like break it down. But 5th generation included, among other things, the Nintendo 64, the PlayStation, the Saturn. Generally speaking, that's it. But you could also include the Virtual Boy, the Neo Geo Pockets, Game Boy Color was technically part of this generation, but Saturn 64 and PlayStation. That's right. That's really
I got that. Done deal. So you got a Steam backlog, and I have a 5th generation game. I don't know what it's gonna be, but you'll find out in the future.
Yep.
All right. Um, Andy, it looks like you have one story here, and I have another story. But let's get the Nintendo Entertainment System story out of the way.
Yeah. This is kind of small. I just thought it was interesting to talk about, but we've talked before about how the Nintendo Entertainment System app is going to add 3 games every month. Well, the very first time for them to add games rolled around, and they didn't add 3 games, they added 4, kind of. Completely unannounced, they added The Legend of Zelda again, but it's like a special version. It had a name. It was like Living Life Easy or something. Legend of Zelda: Living the Life of Luxury. That's what it is, and it's basically the exact same game, except you start with a bunch of extra items.
Mm-hmm.
You start with the white sword, the blue tunic, I think the bow and arrow, a bunch of rupees, stuff like that. Basically, it's a slightly easier way to get into Legend of Zelda because you won't get your ass whipped. Beginnings, you got the good sword and the good tunic, which this didn't really appeal to me because I just beat Legend of Zelda, so obviously I didn't want to do this. And even if I did, I'm the kind of guy that I don't want to play the easy one. But this isn't. This is for kids, I assume, kids and people who aren't really that interested in playing a game that's old and difficult like that. But what was interesting about this to me is if they did it this time, are they going to keep doing it in November? Are they going to add another game with like an interesting spin on it? And if so, what are they going to add and what's it going to be? It's kind of exciting to think about and speculate about what they could do, because instead of making it easier, they could add stuff that made it harder, or they could add multiplayer to a game that previously didn't have multiplayer, or they could add new playable characters or something. It's neat. It's like an idea of adding DLC kind of to old NES games. So I thought it was exciting. Maybe if they further implement it. I mean, again, they added the game for nothing. They didn't announce it. They were just trying to be cool. And I know that your satisfaction with the NES app is low, but that's pretty cool that they gave us something extra.
Yeah, and if they mess around with this a little bit better, in my opinion, than what the Legend of Zelda was, like it would be great to have like challenges to be put on there. Be like,
yeah, they've done stuff like this before with what was it called, the NES remix? It came out on the Wii U and the 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's that kind of premise, except a whole game instead of just a short little snippet. So Nintendo has experimented in this realm before, adding challenges and stuff like you're saying.
It'd be really cool, and it's gonna be a little bit different than the Super Mario Maker, but like a Zelda Maker, the Legend of Zelda Maker.
People have speculated about that for some time, and I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think they could do something like that.
Oh yeah, well you have RPG Maker. I mean, you don't have to go into deep depth with like code and stuff, but like having like a map maker of different dungeons would be pretty cool, and having different enemies and stuff would be really interesting. And seeing it happening right now with like this remix Legend of Zelda, it makes you think like you could do it, and it could sell a lot of fucking Switches if they do that too. Be like, hey, you want to try out my Legend of Zelda map? Come play it on the Switch. Like,
I'm convinced that Mario Maker sold them some Wii U's. I mean, that game was a big goddamn deal. So anything they could do to emulate that again. Honestly, I'm surprised they haven't re-released it for the Switch yet. They're probably trying to like beef it up and add. I really want them to add Super Mario Brothers 2 as a style, so you can like pull the turnips up and throw them and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe during the holiday we get like a direct or something, or before the holiday they'll be like, hey, springtime, you're gonna get Super Mario Maker. And did you like Super Mario Maker? Well, guess what? Zelda.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. But I'm wondering if they won't keep all their announcements closer to their chest until we're in post Smash Brothers, which will be the first week of December.
Mm-hmm.
But I suspect there's gonna be another direct between us and then, and they're gonna announce maybe one or two more characters for Smash, and then it's gonna finally come out.
Well, the pipeline is like really awesome because you're gonna have the new Pokemons, and then you're gonna
Yeah,
have the Smash, and then you're gonna in the future you're gonna have Metroid finally, hopefully, and then
yeah,
Animal Crossing.
yeah. I think Animal Crossing is gonna hit before Metroid Prime 4 does,
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's supposed to be first quarter.
Yeah, I can't wait for Metroid. It, I, it upset me, but I know they're working on it, so like I don't want them to rush out like a trailer just to show people. But
Mm.
just showing the title screen on that one E3, I'm like, that's all we got.
There's still a Yoshi game that's out there somewhere in the ether that they're supposed to be working on. The Kirby game came out, but
Mm-hmm.
um, and besides that, we got a Bayonetta 3 hitting eventually.
And
I
then
don't
you,
know. A bunch of smaller stuff. Those Final Fantasies they announced. More Sega Ages. Uh, Other stuff that I can't think of right now.
we just can't think of shit today.
Nah, I
um,
didn't know. I didn't know I was gonna have to run down the Switch release schedule today. Oh, I can't wait! I can't wait for Damon Cross Machina. That's the game I'm excited about. That game looks fucking bad. Oh, new Fire Emblem. New Fire Emblem next year.
hmm
Can't wait for that.
and people and what pisses me off is that people and there's some people that do have a Switch and they're like, oh, this is a port machine. I'm like, yeah, like the reason why
Bitch, have
they're
you played Mario Odyssey? That's what I say to him.
hmm well, the thing is, like, yeah, it does have a lot of ports, but who really played the Wii U besides the
Yeah.
hardcore Mario people?
No, I think they should stay the course on that because the Wii U was. I still maintain a pretty excellent system. It wasn't perfect, but it was marketed horribly and named horribly, and a lot of people didn't get it. So they should port everything they can because there were a lot of good games on the Wii U that people aren't going to play otherwise.
Yeah, like Donkey Kong Tropical.
Yeah, they ported that Donkey Kong game. They ported Bayonetta 2. They ported, Mario Kart. Keep doing it. Keep it up. Let's get Pikmin 3 over, and we'll bring you Pikmin.
Let's get
Get to work,
everybody here.
Nintendo. Everybody's here.
The other story, which is kind of sad, but like, there's a lot of conflicting stories about it. So it's, I think it's a hit piece because of Red Dead 2 coming around literally Friday, and a story came out saying that Rockstar has bad work habits and stuff, where they were pushing their team to like 100+ hours every week, and
It's crunch time.
it's
Lots of developers do it. It's disgusting, and they should stop.
mm-hmm. I mean, I think they need to stop doing crunch time.
That
Obviously,
game has to have gone gold already, hasn't it?
the what?
Red Dead's got to have gone gold. Going gold means it's off to the printers. Like they're
Oh,
printing that disc.
oh yeah, I think they hit that like a long time ago because
Yeah,
people.
they would have had to.
But the thing is like, and this is gonna sound shitty because it's kind of like the same thing like when you tell well, you don't tell the troops, but like when you sign up for the military, you're bound to possibly go to war,
Yeah.
and you don't want to, say, well, you sign up for the shit, this is gonna happen.
I
And,
don't think these people are signing contracts that say that they have to go through crunch time and unpaid overtime.
well,
That's
yeah.
my understanding.
Mm. The way I see it is like when you're coming out with a big game like Red Dead, with a big uh developer like Rockstar, like they're gonna want 150% this game so that there is no bugs. And like I said, I'm
I
not
mean,
gonna.
there still will be. It's an open world game. There's going to be
Yeah, well, I'm not condoning.
sadly.
I'm not condoning that it was right for Rockstar to do unpaid overtime and have all this crunch time, 100-hour weeks and stuff. But then there was conflicted stories where only one or two people came out saying this, and the other people were just like, "We didn't say this. We like it here." Yeah. So like, I hate the internet so much
The
because
internet's giving you a platform right now, buddy.
I know, and if I wasn't here, I'd probably be standing on top of a podium doing the podcast. I don't know. Anyway, or the radio waves. I hate that they come out with these hit pieces because they don't like this game, and they dig around. They do this petty journalism where they find that one disgruntled employee and say, "Hey, have you ever had any bad experience with this company?" And then boom, you get a long list of everything that they hate. It's kind of like, you work at your current job, whatever job it is, and you go, well, I hate how the boss, is breathing down my neck. I hate this and that and all that and everything. And then you have those bad employees, and I'm not saying that they're bad. It just they didn't like shit, and maybe they got more work than usual.
I mean, usually no one likes their job anyway.
Mm-hmm. So like, and it was pretty darn, like it was a literal hit piece because they could.
I mean, I'll bet this. I don't. You could be. I mean, you're probably right. But even besides that, what I would guess is that it wasn't even so much that they wanted to go after Rockstar or Red Dead or Take Two or whatever. It might just be that what's hot right now. Red Dead Redemption is about to come out. Well, let's do a negative story about that. That'll get clicks. We need to sell ad space. What's going to get those clicks? We need clicks. Get people on our website. I need to make money.
Yeah,
so they say, what can we write negative about Red Dead? Well, you know what else is kind of in the public eye right now as far as the gaming industry goes? Crunch time and unpaid overtime and workers being treated unfairly. Let's just put out, hey, do you work for Rockstar North or whoever it is that made Red Dead? Do you want to anonymously something, say something bad? And they're bound to get a couple emails. If they're shitty enough journalists, they probably don't even confirm that they work for Rockstar.
Mm-hmm. And it's an echo chamber, obviously. Like,
yeah, most websites and communities on the internet are.
Detroit Become Human, they had their own controversy with like sexual harassment, I think, and
It's true.
Pretty much the game came out, everybody bought it, and then that's it. I mean, the echo chamber that usually happens with these websites and these communities, they do these hit pieces, and it's ironic that they do it during the week when it's going to come out. I mean, I guarantee you they have this information at least 2 or 3 months in advance, and they just wait for the right time, just when people are about to buy it, because they want to hit that little moral switch for people to go, hey,
clicks.
hey, yeah, that game that you really like over there? Well, guess what? There's one pedophile over there. And then all of a sudden, like, oh my god, I'm not gonna buy this game. It's like it, and then you find out it was a false allegation. And the reason why they did that is just so they can get more clicks, like you just said, so they get ad revenue, and then two, they ruin somebody's career, and pretty much people lose their jobs.
Yeah, mysteriously, whenever they have to publish a retraction or something, it's never quite as trumpeted as loud as the initial story was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if they are getting this crunch time, I think the industry needs to change where they're not doing this crunch time, where they need to be like, hey, we have this project. I'll give you, and it's gonna sound weird because I know business. I'm not thinking from a business point of view, but I'm thinking more of like passionate, I guess. Is like, we'll give you this amount of money, take your time, and then get the game out. But that's how the industry doesn't work. When people want a game, they want a game, and it's a fucking stupid thing. Because wherever you go, you're gonna lose. You have any final thoughts on the Rockstar thing?
I don't know. I saw some arguments recently about how it would be ideal for game developers to find a way to unionize. And of course, yeah, that probably would be really good. Logistically, I don't know how it will work out, but it almost feels like that's what it's going to have to come to.
I would feel that these publishers would just hire non-unionized people.
I mean, it's the same in almost every industry in America for the last more than a century. It's just they're all going to have to come together and decide, look, we're in a union, we're going to do collective bargaining. So I guess suck a dick, or they're not going to make it work, and some people are going to lose their jobs. It's going to be double shooting.
Yeah, and not to get too technical, but like to have a union too with developers and stuff. If they don't get a contract that they like, they're gonna strike and pretty much put a halt to video games. Like I think that would.
It happens. Do you remember a few years ago when television writers went on strike and there wasn't like new episodes of anything for a few months?
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. But from what I understand, game developers in Japan have a union or unions, but their unions aren't structured the way ours are.
Mm-hmm.
But they can still use there's like a union organization to get health insurance through in Japan, for instance, and it's like it serves developers from all kinds of different um, companies. I don't know. Obviously, I'm very uneducated in the way that Japanese game developer unions operate, but I wonder if there isn't a model there to look at. But I'm no expert on this stuff. I was just that's what I observed. Just someone smarter than me said, "Oh, maybe they'll have to unionize."
I mean, I think the only like Japanese one I actually looked closely at was Konami, and even them doing that shitty move, like they're still standing. I mean, they just went to pachinko machines, but they're still standing. They're still doing business, and like people's end goal of trying to demolish a corporation or a company just because they hate things. And I hate Konami because what they did to Hideo, but I'm not gonna go around and try to get more people fired because what is that gonna solve? You're gonna make other people's jobs and careers go down the tubes because of one man.
Just vote with your money. That's all you can do. Recently, they put out an HD remaster of Zone of the Enders 2, and I really wanted it, but I didn't let myself buy it because fuck Konami.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting because it's dabbling into one of my favorite franchises, but they're teasing Metal Gear, not remake. I think of more remastered for PlayStation 4 and possibly.
I mean, that sounds like something I would like, but I'd have to double down. I'd have to say fuck Konami. It sucks. If I got it, I'd have to buy it used.
Yeah, I think I would do that, or I would just bite the bullet and get a PS3 and get the Legacy Collection, I guess.
Yeah, just buy the Legacy Collection used. That's what I've got. It works fine.
Mm-hmm. I gotta find a cheap PlayStation 3. Something like around the $80 range. Because
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
As long as you don't get one of the PS2 backwards compatible models.
Mm-hmm. Anyway. You put up a question, sir, so I'm gonna let you take away this segment.
Did I? Oh yeah, I forgot. I put that there some time ago. I was actually thinking about The Legend of Zelda Oracle Seasons when I posed this, but you had a question last show, so I figured I'd put one up. But how much? This is relevant to Metal Gear too. How much more likely or unlikely are you to play a game if it's a spin-off of a series you love? Meaning, like, I wanted to play Oracle Seasons because it's a Zelda game, and I like Zelda games. I went to play all the Zelda games. Another example might be Metal Gear Revengeance. When it came out, it clearly wasn't a stealth action game, but did you want to play it anyway because it was Metal Gear?
Yeah. I think I would play anything Metal Gear or Resident Evil in the universe.
So yes, you are more likely.
Mm-hmm.
What if they made a Resident Evil, something stupid, point and click dating sim?
I mean, if you're Solid Snake and you're trying to date like all the fucking villains in Meryl, I mean, maybe if the price is right, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's too ridiculous. Like I have to admit, if they made a Metal Gear point and click or dating sim, I'd probably have to buy But, what if they made? I'll go back to Resident Evil. They made a Resident Evil game, and it's a kitty kart racer. Are you gonna play that?
If it's like Mario Kart and I'm like Chris Redfield or Hunk and Tofu just driving around like Raccoon City, yeah, I'd buy it. What
What
about
if the reviews were middle of the
um
no pun intended?
yeah, I would probably still get it because I mean I'm such a big fan, like I'm so biased when it comes to like Resident Evil or Metal Gear. I think I would literally like if there was a Metal Gear Tamagotchi where I'm taking care of a Metal Gear, I'd probably buy it.
Yeah. I think it depends a little bit on the series too. Because if it's Metal Gear, then yeah, I'm right there. I've got Revengeance. I've got VR. I've got Metal Gear Gaiden on the Game Boy Color. I have all the Metal Gear games. I don't give a fuck if it says Metal Gear on the cover, unless it's Survive. I want to own it. Fuck
Mhm.
Survive. But I don't. There's some other stuff. There was like I remember when the Animal Crossing. There were two Animal Crossing like spin-off games that came out. Happy Home Designer and the Amiibo board game one. And part of me was like, oh, I kind of want to get those because I like Animal Crossing games. But neither of them looked like games I was going to enjoy. So I didn't get them, and I'm glad I didn't because neither one. I guess Happy Home Designer reviewed okay, but the Amiibo one is apparently garbage. And so I guess in the case of some franchises, I'm blindly loyal in that I'll just get any garbage. But I don't know. Maybe not to everything. Maybe it's just the big stuff. If it's Metal Gear, if it's I don't know what else would make me do that.
Um, what was the most recent game that you like liked and beat and are waiting for more? I guess Red Dead would be the next game you would want to get.
Red Dead, yeah, I'm super excited about Red Dead. Red Dead Redemption, I've gone on record saying was my favorite 360 game. It was my favorite game from that generation.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to see like what other spin-off like
I mean, that's not a spinoff, that's a sequel.
yeah. Like the whole thing with like Resident Evil 7, like to me I treat that kind of like a spin-off a little bit. Uh,
Sort of. Yeah,
be-
it's not the chief players
mhm.
anymore. But since when have video games followed that um, formula? Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. Hey, look at Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest.
Yeah, I
They got
mean
they got to reinvent the setting and cast every few years.
it's annoying with like games like Resident Evil 7. There is so many because you have like Dead Aim, you have Survivor.
I like that aim. I bought it recently.
Mm-hmm. So like you have those side stories that are not pretty much the main storyline because when you think of main storyline, you think of Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Leon Kennedy, and Claire.
So if Resident Evil 7 had come out and it reviewed very well, but hypothetically, if it had not reviewed well, if it reviewed like 6 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10, like just okay, you might not have picked it up because it didn't have the characters you were familiar
No, I would still get it because they had the name. Um,
with.
if they didn't have the name, if they went like um, crazy family in this town, that just that's a it's not even a title, but you know what I mean, like crazy
Yeah.
family in this town and stuff. Like I'd look at it and be like, oh, I don't know, man. You're in this house and there's like this country guy that's feeding you, body parts and stuff. Like I'm not into the gruesome kind of thing.
Uh,
So that's one thing that Resident Evil 7 kind of turned me off about. There's a lot of stuff that turned me off about Resident Evil 7. Pretty much the gore. Like I'm not into like movies like Saw and like seeing blood and dead body parts and stuff. Like that doesn't make me want to play a game or watch a movie. Um
I'm into it if it's like outlandishly over the top,
oh,
like
Evil Dead.
Return. Yeah, Evil Dead, great example. Return of the Living Dead, another
Mm.
example.
No, when movies are trying to be like snuff films, it's just like nah, I don't want that.
Yeah, I agree.
Um but and other things like there was not a lot of enemies in that game. You were fighting these slime tar things, and you were fighting. What was great about Resident Evil 7 is the boss battles between the whole family. I think that was interesting. But
Yeah, the car in the garage is one of my favorites.
yeah, it's the most funniest fucking fight ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but any other series that you would likely or unlikely want to?
Well, when I mentioned Final Fantasy just now, that reminded me of, and of course I do not feel this way now at all, but when I was younger, just after Final Fantasy VII had come out, going into when Final Fantasy VIII came out, you want to talk about blindly, I don't care as long as it says Final Fantasy on it, I'll get it. And Square knew that at the time. In fact, there's a bunch of Game Boy games, Final Fantasy Legends and Final Fantasy Quest, that are not Final Fantasy games in Japan, and I think not in Europe either. They're actually Saga and something else. I can't remember. Remixing Saga, but they're like rebrands, and they just called them Final Fantasy in the United States because everyone was so hungry for more Final Fantasy games.
Mm-hmm.
And I was right there. I was the perfect age to be taken advantage of by that. Luckily, a lot of the games that were out at the time were excellent. I mean, Final Fantasy Tactics, holy shit, that game's fucking great. And I liked 8. Everyone else didn't, but I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, they re-released all the old stuff. They did Final Fantasy Origins Chronicles Anthology, and then there were all those Game Boy games, and Chocobo's Dungeon, and there was like a stupid kart racer Chocobo game and stuff like that. And I don't own all of them, but they were definitely all on my radar when I was younger, just because they said Final Fantasy on them. That's all it took.
Would you agree that like after Final Fantasy 7 came out, like that was the boom for like Americans to want to get more Final Fantasy?
Absolutely. I mean, after 4 and 6, here known as 2 and 3, came out, there was a lot of interest, and a lot of people got those games reviewed awesome, but they just didn't capture such a large audience as with the PlayStation. Like Final Fantasy 7 sold PlayStations. Final Fantasy 7 was the game I bought a PlayStation for when I was a kid. I went to Kmart and I got a PlayStation and Final Fantasy 7. And days later, I bought a memory card because I was stupid and didn't realize it.
Goddamn 4 discs. Was it 4 discs?
I think 7 is 3 discs. 8 is 4 discs.
Oh yeah, that's right. 8 was 4. I just remember like getting these double pack CD disc and all that stuff, and I'm like, this is a hefty game.
Yeah, there were other games that I bought. Again, I got lucky because they were actually pretty good. But I bought RPGs on the PlayStation just because I wanted to scratch that Final Fantasy itch. Like I own Lunar, and I bought it solely because it was an RPG on the PlayStation. I was like, hopefully this is almost as good as Final Fantasy VII was.
Mm-hmm. Then we have the Legend of the Dragoon, like
yeah. I mean, stuff like that and other Square RPGs. I mean, Square was knocking it out of the park. What was that? That'd be the 5th generation. We just learned that, didn't we? That during the 5th generation of games, because it was like Xenogears and oh my god, it's so embarrassing. I can't remember more stuff. Our guys had an RPG in it, if you want to count that. Had Final Fantasy characters in it. Exact same thing. They said, "Oh look, you're gonna play as Cloud." Oh. So people bought guys.
Yeah, I remember because Final Fantasy VII is always going to be one of the top Final Fantasy games for me because that game captured me. Like I played Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3, and I was like, it's the usual thing. You're playing as turn based. You're kind of playing like, how can I put this? Because Final Fantasy VII, like it went to the next level. But like the old Final Fantasy games, you had this map, and then your little character traveled across this map, and then that's when you got hit with enemies and stuff. And then obviously when you go into a town, you go into like all the buildings. It's kind of like for other people that played Pokemon before, it's kind of like Pokemon in a way. When you're going into like gyms, and that's how the old Final Fantasy games were. Final Fantasy was so cool.
Yeah. Still is. Go back and play one.
Mm-hmm.
Go play 7. You need to beat a 5th generation game.
There's a couple I have on my head right now. I'm leaning towards PlayStation games. I thought about N64, but I'm like, I don't want to play an N64 game unless maybe I don't know. It'll be a surprise. Uh, I think that's the end of our episode. We're trying new stuff here. I kind of like the flow of the wheel of quest and the question of the cast. It gives us, time to make our own content instead of just being a news network kind of thing where we're like, oh, the news is happening, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I've never liked that much. It's
Mhm.
always so negative.
Yeah, especially this day and age. Um, Make sure to follow us on Podbean, which is btilp.podbean.com. Make sure to give us a review and also follow us, and tell us how we're, doing good or bad. And yeah, and our movie podcast is next week, which is Big Trouble in Little Podcast. Totally forgot the movie that we're watching, Train to Busan. I always mess it up. It's
Busan.
Busan. It's the
I think,
Korean
yeah.
the Korean zombie movie because we want to go with the flow of zombies. Until next time, everybody. You have a good day.
Thanks for listening.